What's going on, everybody? It's Joel here, and today we're taking a look at the Titan Fitness Glute Hamstring HNPD, otherwise known as a GHD and reverse hyper. I don't think they can call it reverse hyper because of maybe trademark reasons with Westside Barbell, but that's pretty much what it is. So in the past, I've owned the Titan GHD, but I have not owned the HNPD. I thought the GHD was usable, but it was not the greatest. It wasn't built all that well. It was a little unstable. The hardware was whatever, and the finish was lacking. The pads were not amazing either. So wasn't a huge fan of that. The HNPD, never used it, so I can't really comment on that, but I have used other reverse hypers in the past, namely the one by Rogue Fitness, and that one is a hard act to follow. It's a really, really nice piece of equipment if you have the space for it. Now, I don't have a huge amount of area in my gym to use, so something like this is extremely useful for me. Even having GHDs in here is kind of tough because they do take up a ton of space. And if you're consolidating space and equipment, this is a nice way to do it. I think this is pretty much the only way that I'd ever be able to justify having a reverse hyper inside of my gym. And I think for the most part, it does its job. So the fit and finish of the Titan HNPD glute hamstring combination is the best that I've seen on pretty much any Titan Fitness product. And I think over the years, they've gotten better and better and better with their fit and finish. And it shows with their HNPD glute hamstring combo. The powder coating on this is pretty good. It's not like top notch. It's not the best in the world, but it's way better than the paint and finish that they used before. The welds seem to be pretty sturdy. The actual build quality and construction of this whole unit it's not bad. It's pretty good, actually. It's really sturdy. It weighs in at like 252 pounds. The actual dimensions, if you want to just put it in more like a realistic plot, it would be pretty much the entire 6x4 stall mat, and that pretty much is the floor space that it takes up, not including the arms when they're swung out to the back part. I have it fully extended right now, and I think with the full extension, it's like 76 inches long. But usually I use it with the arms folded in, and then for the GHDs, I just get in over the top here. This thing is a pretty tall machine, and it's that way because you need that height to do reverse hypers. It's a little scary doing GHDs on it for the first time, but once you get used to it, you get used to it, and it's not that big a deal. But it's definitely higher than any of the other GHDs that I've used. Definitely higher than my Rogue over there and my Sorenex GHD. So the pads on this are probably the weakest area, and they're much better than what Titan used to offer with their GHD, but they're still not amazing. This pad is pretty stiff, unforgiving. It's not the most comfortable thing. It's okay when you're doing reverse hypers, though I do wish that there was some kind of cutout for your junk in the front of the pad. There's a cutout in the back, but there's none in the front, which is a little odd. The rollers, they're not amazing, but they do their job. They don't really spin too much, which is fine. I don't really care too much about that. They're, like I said, not super padded, not super cushioned, but I don't really care about that. I actually prefer my rollers on my GHDs to be a little bit more on the firm side, so I'm okay with that. The adjustment for the foot pads is okay. I think it could go a little bit higher. One nice thing about this glute hamstring HNPD combo is that the adjustments are spring loaded now. So you unscrew and then you can adjust them, which was much better on the GHD. That wasn't a thing. So adjusting that, it was very painful of a process to do. So you have this adjustment. I do think that this could go just a little bit higher. This post could be a little bit higher. And then I do think also that the slider right here, which is, there's a side one that is not spring loaded because that's just to tighten up the base here. But I do think that this slider could go a little bit more further forward, and that is mainly to do GHR raises. The way that it's set up is I could barely, as a 5'9" male, do GHR raises. I can do them, it's pushing it though. So this could move forward a little bit more. Otherwise, the adjustment is sturdy, and then when you lock it in, it stays in place. It doesn't really rock around all that much. So can't really complain about that much there. One more thing that I do wish this had was maybe some kind of platform right here, so that if you had the GHD set up like this, you could get in to the GHD a little bit easier. For me, getting into this thing, it's kind of tough. So usually I'll have it like that. Or if the arms are swung in, then I have to climb up through the little included foot posts. But dropping down here, it's kind of a far way to go. Otherwise, so these swing arms adjust from this little pin right here, and that is very easy to do. Though I usually just have it with the arms folded in. I don't really see any reason to have the arms folded out. It does make the GHD a little bit easier to get into, but it does take up a little bit more floor space. Plus, when you're doing your GHDs and your hands are going behind your head, it's a little weird to have them there. They could help with GHR raises if you needed something to push off from, but I don't really use that. And then these little handholds are just held in with a little pin, and then from there you can adjust it back and forth. I have it at the furthest setting away, so if you are taller than me or if you're a bigger guy than me, that might be problematic for you. I think that the furthest setting is perfect for me. And like I said, I'm not super tall, but I do have pretty long arms, so I guess there's where it could make the difference. Getting into the reverse hyper portion, pretty simple. Obviously you're gonna have the swing arms swung all the way out here, and then from here you have a little strap back here, and then you can load this up with weight. You've got your spring clips here, and then like I said, getting into it is easy enough. This little pad is fairly comfortable. It's not amazing, it's not the most comfortable pad that I've used, but it doesn't feel like it's gonna rip or it's not uncomfortable or anything. So from here, just kind of jump into it from there. So I could actually grab a little bit further forward. So if you're a little bit taller, that might be a little bit problematic for you. And then from here, you can go into your GHR or your reverse hypers. So I think that this machine works better as a reverse hyper than it does a GHD. And the reason for that is the reverse hyper is pretty much all set up, and it's actually pretty good. The clearance that you have, the way that you'll get into it, the way that you hold on to it. The pad, like I said, is not super comfortable, but it works. But when you go and you take this and you make it into a GHD, the way that the pad is set up is it puts a lot of spin on your back. Usually GHD pads are like a half moon kind of pad, and this is a flat pad. So it doesn't really support your butt at all. And when you go into your GHD, it puts like a huge strain on your lower back. So I find myself not really going that far down with this. I do think that I could benefit from having this foot adjustment a little bit higher, so that it could help me go down a little bit lower, but then I would also like to have a little bit of curvature to the pad. I understand that because it is a reverse hyper, having a curved pad would not really work in that situation. So I think maybe having a little bit more cushioning on this back end would help out just a little bit. But keep in mind that it is a combo machine, and with any combo machines, there's going to be some kind of trade-offs. So Is it a usable GHD? I'm gonna say 100% yes. It is a completely usable GHD. I've been using it for all my workouts, and I really haven't had that much of an issue. Like I said, it does put a little bit of a spin on my lower back. It is sometimes a little bit hard to get into if you're trying to get into it in the middle of a workout. So a normal GHD would be better in that situation. But you do get the added functionality of having the reverse hyper, which is something that, like I said, normally I would never have in my gym, just because it takes up, well, having a GHD and a reverse hyper just takes up a lot of space, and it's not something that I personally use all that often, but I do like to have one. I do see the benefits of having a reverse hyper. So having the consolidated space does definitely make up for the uncomfortable GHD portion. But like I said, if you're buying this like in hopes to have like a comfortable GHD, it's not a comfortable GHD, it's a workable GHD. The reverse hyper portion is 100% better than the GHD portion, and it works really well. I think I really don't have any complaints with it. For the weight that I'm doing, which admittedly is not a ton of weight, it's fine. It swings very smoothly, and I can't really complain. Ergonomically, it's pretty good for me. Like I said, if you're a little bit taller than me, it's probably gonna be a little bit difficult for you. And I would recommend that there's like a cutout right here, maybe for your junk, but that's just me personally. Maybe I'm loading it up wrong, but that's one thing that I would fix with the GHD or the reverse hyper portion. And then I would also let the adjustment go forward a little bit more, or maybe extend this back part of the pad out more so that it's easier to do GHR raises, because for me as a 5'9" male, it's kind of difficult to do that. But otherwise, I think for everything that you're getting for $700 shipped, this is a ridiculous value. You can't buy a GHD for $700, or a good GHD for $700 shipped. You definitely can't buy a good reverse hyper for $700 shipped. And you're getting both workable, usable machines in one. Takes up a pretty good amount of floor space, but you are still consolidating machines, so definitely worth it if you're looking for something to consolidate space. You wanted both of the machines. You were okay with losing a little bit of comfort and ergonomics, but you definitely get the functionality of having both of the machines in here. I definitely recommend the Titan Fitness glute hamstring HNPD combo if you've got a small gym like mine, or if you got a garage gym where you can only afford so much space. It's for sure worth it for $700. You can use code AMRAP to save 5% off of your Titan Fitness GHD/reverse hyper combo. If you guys have any questions about this machine, feel free to leave them in the comments section. And as always, guys, please hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching. All right, so one last thing I forgot to mention. I just finished the review and I completely omitted this, but it's a pretty important one. Setting this thing up is a pain in the ass. There's a bunch of little nuts and bolts and screws that go into this, and you will definitely need your own tools. It does come with some, janky tools to put this thing together, but they're awful, and when it comes down to tightening some of the nuts, you don't have enough. So make sure that you have your own tools and you have another person to help you put this thing together. And then finally, the instructions online are also pretty bad, like very bad. At one point, there are some mislabeling of some of the parts. So I think that was this little bushing on the swing arm here. If you follow that thing to a T, that will be off. So make sure that you check with the first diagram that they put up where that is labeled correctly, rather than just kind of going through it. I didn't figure that part until the very end of the setup. Maybe they fixed it by now, because I did complain about that, but just keep that in mind. If you put yours together and this bushing is off, it's because it's mislabeled in the instruction. So just had to add that in.